Hello and welcome to the Wake Forest Summer Immersion Program webinar featuring our Leadership Institute. We are so excited that so many of you have decided to log on and hear more about our Leadership Institute. We are excited that we have academic leader Heidi Robinson with us today. Before we get started, I'll just introduce our team. First of all, my name is Betsy Schneider. I am the Assistant Director of Pre-College Programs here at Wake Forest. Our Executive Director is Kyla Hollingsworth. Our Program Manager is Donovan Livingston, and our Administrative Coordinator, Elizabeth Phillips, is here with me to answer questions at the end of the webinar. If this is your first webinar with the Wake Forest Summer Immersion Program, welcome. We have already recorded an informational webinar that kind of gives a very broad overlook of the Summer Immersion Program in general. This webinar will focus specifically on the Leadership Institute. So before we get started, I just want to give a brief overview of the programs that we are offering this summer, 2019, and the locations for those programs. So in Winston-Salem this summer, we will be featuring the majority of our programs. And Winston-Salem is actually where Wake Forest University is located. It's our undergraduate campus known as the Renolda campus. And so the programs that we're offering in Winston-Salem this summer are the Biosciences and Engineering Institute, the Business Institute, Dance, Debate and Public Advocacy, Documentary Film, Health and Exercise Science, Health and Well-Being, Law, Leadership, Medicine, Neuroscience, Policy and Politics, Psychology, Sports Medicine, Technology, and Visual Arts. In our Charlotte campus, our Charlotte campus is known as the Wake Forest Charlotte Center, and it's a satellite campus located in Uptown Charlotte, North Carolina. We will be offering the Entrepreneurship Institute, which is brand new this summer, the Medicine Institute, as well as the Sports Business Institute. So what students can expect? So each summer we host students from all over the country and all over the world. And when students come to campus, not only can they expect a really fun and enlightening week of learning, but they can also expect fascinating course material. Each of our institutes are led by experts and leaders in the field. So students are going to be interacting with highly touted professionals. Students will get to go on daily field trips. We pride ourselves on allowing students to go behind the scenes into a lot of different organizations and industries. Students will get to meet friends from around the world who are also highly motivated individuals and are there to learn something new. Students are usually passionate, driven, excited about learning, and excited about pursuing their goals in the future. One-of-a-kind experiences, students have the opportunity to do a lot of hands-on experiences and workshops, whether that be labs, workshops, things like that, and also challenging discussions. We want students to engage with our professionals and our leaders and with each other. So that's another thing that students can expect when they come to Wake Forest over the summer. Now I am extremely excited to introduce our academic leader for the Leadership Institute, Heidi Robinson. Heidi, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you are excited about the Leadership Institute this summer?
Absolutely. First, welcome to all of our families and prospective students who are joining us. And thank you, Betsy, for sharing so much great information for not only the Leadership Institute, but for our summer immersion programs overall. So my background, I teach here at Wake Forest, and my primary focus of both my research and my teaching is professional development. And so helping students grow as young professionals, we need leaders in every dimension of culture and industry. And in order to be a good leader, you also need to be a strong professional. so that wherever you go, you are taken seriously and you know how to tell your story such that others want to follow you. So when we think about the different kinds of things that we will talk about, we will follow a curriculum and activities that highlight those skills and those characteristics, surface those qualities in each one of our participants.
Great, thank you, Heidi. Now we will go into the specific dates for the Leadership Institute. So the Leadership Institute will only be happening once over the summer, and the dates will be July 7th through the 12th, located on the Winston-Salem campus. It is a residential program. Students will be able to stay in Wake Forest University dorms. This summer, we will be living in South Residence Hall, which is a newer freshman dorm, and students will have the opportunity to eat in the dining hall and really experience what it's like to be a student at Wake Forest for a week. Check-in is on Sunday afternoon. Checkout is on Friday at 12 o'clock noon. So that's kind of how the week will look and the dates that it will occur. Heidi, if you want to speak a little bit more about the Leadership Institute in general now, some of the highlights, what students can expect from the program, that would be great.
Absolutely. So a lot of the things that we think about when we think about those people who have made impact in the lives, in our own lives, they're often the folks who have inspired us, led either projects, different kinds of opportunities that caused us to become more than we thought we could. These are the leaders that we want to train in our institute. So how do we do that? We do that by both a combination of introduction of information as well as experiences and activities that allow our young leaders to experience what that feels like to either to challenge themselves and also to be in a position to inspire others around them. So the method and the sort of philosophy that we are using is enough information to be able to do. So we'll begin by this understanding that the best leaders are those who are relationship builders. In order to be a good relationship builder, one has to understand themselves and to have this understanding about what it looks like to be in relationship, to manage conflict, but also to manage situations and all of the relationships with which we come into contact as leaders. We want students to understand that part of leadership is challenge and managing challenge and all of those parts of challenge, even the parts where we feel like we are trying something new, how to manage ourselves in those moments. So we will indeed learn to sort of that comfort with ambiguity. Being a leader also means, again, being able to tell your own story. So that means actually having some of the professional tools that are necessary to share your leadership story as a young professional, which means resume. It means being able to go ahead and have a professional introduction, to be able to manage oneself in professional settings. So we will have an etiquette dinner and we will go ahead and talk about resume. Why? Because those are actually ways with which we begin to introduce ourselves and our leadership style. We'll go ahead and take a look at what does it mean to be challenged. What does it mean to go ahead and have challenges that push us to a point where we feel where we have to dig in a little bit. We'll talk about the concept of grit, which is something that employers are talking about. We talk about that as a country. How do we develop grit within ourselves as humans and especially as leaders? We'll understand that the very best teams are those that are diverse. So thinking about the multiplicity of culture that we will experience in the workplace today, but in our teams, in our organizations, and in educational settings, and sort of optimizing opportunities for growth with a diverse team. Hands-on experiences are some of the best ways that we learn. And so we will do some team building activities. We will indeed have, as mentioned, challenge by choice, some opportunities to take some very safe growth moments where we see what it feels like to go ahead and step outside of what our comfort zone is and feel good doing that. We're going to go ahead and see what our leaders that we know who are here on campus, but also affiliated allies to Wake Forest, what do they say about being leaders? We want to hear from them what their best practices are. We want to have some professional experience, so we will do a job shadow. We'll actually go out into the community and see what does it mean to go ahead and lead by serving. And then we'll go ahead and see what does it mean to lead amongst my peers. How do I go ahead and be a person who is trusted and respected by those people who are standing next to me? So I would say those are some of the highlights that we are talking about at this point. And then Betsy, just sort of asking you other things, questions that we might anticipate from our families who might be listening.
Yes, so we have gotten a few questions, Heidi, about the Leadership Institute. So the first question, who should come to the Leadership Institute? What is the ideal student?
That's a great question. And I'm going to reference a statement I made actually earlier when we started talking about the Leadership Institute. And that is that we are a culture and a nation that needs young leaders. This generation, the millennials who are now on the front edge of young adulthood, are quickly being followed by Gen Z, the largest generation that we will ever have. We are going to need leaders who come out of this large generation. So who should come? We need those people who are already identified either within their communities, within their schools, within their teams as leaders. We also need those people who say, I want to be a leader. I want to have the skills and the mindset to be a leader. And so we need those who are surfacing leaders as well as those who may already feel that they are identified or self-identified. So I would say we need this mix of those who are young and who we may think of as emerging leaders, as well as those who may already feel as if they've been tapped within their communities.
Great. So really anyone can come to the Leadership Institute. So I think one of the best things about the Leadership Institute is it's not as focused as a lot of our other institutes. A lot of our other programs are so career focused or academic, they may be academic majors or subjects, but the great thing about the Leadership Institute is it's really great for students who don't really know what they want to pursue later in life, but they do know they want to make a difference. So that's one of the great things I think that the Leadership Institute brings as well. Our next question, Heidi, what is your favorite thing about leading the Leadership Institute?
Oh, what a great question. I think that one of my favorite things is watching students understand the impact that they can make right at this moment in their young lives. Students created videos about what their journey on their leadership experience was last year. And I was very moved, not only for them to sort of have this deeper understanding about what their skills, their talents, and their abilities were, but they also were aware that they had grown during our institute, and they talked about what they wanted to do when they went back to their schools and their communities. So my favorite thing was on that last day when students were saying, this is what I'm going to do now. This is how I'm going to take what we've done in these 5 days, and I'm going to make a difference in my community. I'm going to make impact at my school because now I feel like I understand a little bit more about how I'm going to do that and why it matters to me.
That's awesome. I love to hear that too. Last but not least, we'll have one more question. This is a practical question. So what should students bring with them if they decide to come attend the Leadership Institute?
Ooh, I love that question. And I'm going to speak to both the practical and the professional pieces that students do need to bring with them or be prepared for. So every good leader goes prepared. So by George, we want these students coming into our Leadership Institute prepared as well. So I'm going to start with the professional side. Students need to bring a laptop or some kind of a computer. I'm going to say a laptop computer is ideal. If they have any problems with that, they should let us know if they're interested in that as a barrier. We'd want to be able to talk with someone about that. They need to bring a resume. They don't have to have a perfect resume, but some kind of a list of the kinds of things that they have done in their school. Why? Because we want to take what they've already, the way they've presented that story, that resume, and we want to tune it up. But they need to have a draft of a resume. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want something that we can build on here. They are going to complete, as part of the Institute, a very well-known assessment of preferences and personality styles, which is very helpful as a leader to understand. We call that the MBTI, or the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. They need to have completed that before they arrive to check in. And this, I would say, the last thing I would say on the professional list, it goes out to the guardians, the parents, the family members who are part of bringing this young leader to our campus. No leader grows up in isolation. And we recognize this, and one of the things that needs to be done before the student arrives, they need some input from the people who know them best. In some professional settings, it's called a 360 assessment. In other words, input from the people who are all around the student. We call it a talent ID, and it's 3 simple questions that are answered by the parent or guardian or people close to our student. We get that information and we share it with the student while they are here, as they are sort of creating a profile of understanding themselves as a young leader. On the practical side, there are a couple of things that students will also need. They need one professional outfit. In other words, professional clothing for our etiquette dinner. We'll have an etiquette dinner on Wednesday night, and while parents often applaud and say, oh, I'm so excited that they're going to do that, students don't know that they'll also have fun at that event as well. So we have students, we want them to practice like they will perform. So they come to the etiquette dinner in their professional wear, and we will take a LinkedIn headshot for them if they need that. They can also use that when they're applying to colleges. And then we do that with their phone, but while they're all dressed up. And so they'll need those professional clothes. They'll also need, on the practical side, closed-toe shoes for some of the activities that we will do. They will also probably need some clothes that can get dirty, because we will be doing some service and some outdoor work, so some clothing that is okay if it gets a little bit of road wear, so to speak, on it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for answering those questions, Heidi. And if anyone has any additional questions about the Leadership Institute or about the Wake Forest Summer Immersion Program in general, you can find our contact information on the slide. Like I said, I'm Betsy Schneider. Feel free to email me. You can call me. My phone number is on the website. Elizabeth Phillips, same thing. And Heidi Robinson, our academic leader who just spoke to you, her email address is also listed. So if you have more focused questions about the Leadership Institute, feel free to also email Heidi. And with that, I think we will conclude our Leadership Institute webinar. We look forward to meeting you all this summer and can't wait for a really awesome week during the Leadership Institute.